mutation. Okay. And it only resides in women because it resides on the X chromosome. So it actually came from my mother. However, my particular situation is that I guess the best way to explain it is I have an extra color rod or cone in my eyes. Regular humans have three. When I say regular, people who have normal vision, they have three color rods or cones in their eyes. I have four. Okay. And it's a mutation. It's a physiological mutation. I like to call it a gift. I'm a mutant or an X-woman, if you like.
X-woman, that's right.
Yeah.
Welcome to In the Art Scene podcast, a show about the art world and people in it. This episode's guest is one of the featured artists at our upcoming event, Homegrown Art Beat, that happens on September 6th at the Union Hall Gallery in Golden Hills, San Diego. Homegrown Art Beat is an immersive, multidisciplinary art experience that will make you feel a part of the vibrant art scene of San Diego. Everywhere you turn, you will see works of art, hear music, and engage with artists, all while enjoying a glass of wine at the historic building in the heart of San Diego. If you want to learn more or come to the event, check out our page on the website sandiegoartdirectory.com, our program's Homegrown Art Beat 2025. Tickets are on sale now and are going fast. Hope to see you there. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to In the Art Scene podcast. And as usual, a little bit of housekeeping. Just want to remind you that all the show notes are now posted on sandiegoartistnetwork.com under podcast. And if you like our show and want to support us, please follow us on whatever app you're using to listen to your podcast or subscribe to our YouTube channel. I hope you will stick around and I hope you will share this with your friends because today I have another special guest. Surprise! I am speaking with Concetta Antico, Australia-born tetrachromatic visual artist, currently residing in San Diego, California. How lucky are we here in San Diego? So I have so many questions, and we just started talking about it before I hit recording with Concetta, and I just stopped her because I want to save all of this for the interview. I am so curious to know about what that means, being tetrachromatic, and about her visual expression, because her art is absolutely like from out of this world, and maybe that's what it means. I don't know. Welcome, Concetta. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, Galina. This is Concetta Antico, and thank you so much for such a beautiful introduction. I'm really thrilled to be here, and in fact, I've made San Diego my home since 1990. So I feel like I'm a resident, but I do jump across the pond quite often back to Australia. So loving it here in La Jolla. Thank you.
Oh, we're so lucky that you chose us over Australia. I don't know. I mean, nothing wrong with Australia. I've never been. I don't know. Beautiful country, I'm sure.
It was a tough choice. It's pretty there too, but very much like San Diego. Very similar vegetation and climate and so forth. Yeah, I'm from Sydney.
Yeah, just fewer creatures, I guess, that want to eat you, right?
Yeah, that's a fact. I was up in Byron Bay for a while, and there's a lot of creatures up there, snakes and spiders, and all the stuff you hear about.
Whoa.
True, crocodiles. Yeah.
Wow.
That's fun. Yeah. So, but loving being here down in the village of La Jolla again.
All right. So before I start asking you, why did you even choose to relocate to San Diego and make San Diego a home? And you've been so successfully running your art business and having amazing collectors and a beautiful gallery in the heart of La Jolla Village. I want to get back to this in a minute, but now please I'm so curious to hear about this tetrachromatic situation. Please explain what it is for any of us who
Sure.
doesn't know.
Of course, for your listeners. Okay, so I've been an artist since I was 5. Like a lot of artists, I was drawn to color and painting and the beauty of creativity, which we all have at a very young age. I only found out about my tetrachromacy in 2012, funny enough. So
Wow.
late in my life, okay? Although people who've known me my whole life, when they see my work or they knew me before, they saw my work, they say, "Oh well, it's not surprising," right? So how it came
Yes,
about, and
I can tell. Yeah.
yeah, with the colors, right? People are always knocked over by
Yeah.
the colors when they come into the gallery. So anyway, what it is it's a genetic mutation. Okay. And it only resides in women because it resides on the X chromosome. So it actually came from my mother. However, my particular situation is that I guess the best way to explain it is I have an extra color rod or cone in my eyes. Regular humans have 3. When I say regular, people who have normal vision, they have 3 color rods or cones in their eyes. I have 4. Okay. And it's a mutation. It's a physiological mutation. I like to call it a gift. I'm a mutant or an X-woman, if you like.
Ex-woman, that's right.
Yeah. But what it is it's exponential. Okay. So regular vision, for those with regular vision, can see up to 1 million colors with training. And again, even in my school, because I'm a teacher, I have been an art teacher for 30 years here in San Diego, I've helped people see more color. So just let's start with that for the viewers out there who have regular vision, it is possible to see up to 1 million colors. I see up to 100 million colors more.
Whoa.
So
Whoa.
when I look at nature, which is my preferred subject, obviously, because I'm drawn to it, I see all the nuances and color is brighter for me. I see all the little intricacies of color in things that Mother Nature has put there, including in images of like the sky, including at night, because I have a higher luminance factor than those with regular vision, which was part of the special source of what I have. And I'm going to get back to the actual condition again in a minute. What it means is if you have tetrachromacy or you have the 4 color rods, which other women will find that they have it too, particularly in women from European backgrounds, particularly.
I have one too.
Yeah, perhaps. But the thing is, and the reason I'm featured in worldwide press, that it's been such a big deal, is that I have grown my tetrachromacy. There's 2 reasons. I have grown my tetrachromacy to its highest potential, and I'll explain what that means in a minute. Mostly because I have been an artist my entire life. We're talking 6 decades. And I have taught and been immersed in color very much every day for the past 30 years, teaching and painting. Okay. The thing is with this mutation, this genetic mutation, it's like having, and this is the best example I can give, it's like having superior muscles in your legs. And maybe you didn't know about it. Maybe you had the best muscles and the best legs in the world, but you never trained for the Olympics and you never ran and you never won the gold because you didn't know. With me, first of all, where I have my extra cone, this is what the scientists tell me. I'm studied by UC Irvine. I've been studied by UC Irvine now since 2012, and there are many scientific papers on me. So everything that I'm telling your audience is all bona fide and can be checked out, and they can read the scientific papers on my website, and they can find out all about me through the press or Googling me. But anyway, so because I was so captivated by color and because I was an artist and because where my extra cone lies on this, they call it an elopsin. It's basically just think of a flat line and it's like a rainbow, if you like. And where our color rods and cones sit are in specific places. With regular vision, you have a red cone, a blue cone, and a green cone. And this is what you use to see color, what our brain does when the information comes through our eyes. I have an extra one, and it's in what the scientists tell me is a sweet spot. So here we have this building of factors. We have this young girl who's painting at a very young age, who turns into an art teacher and artist, who's painting every day for, decades and decades. And we have this cone that's in the sweet spot, that's in the yellow, orange, red zone, okay? And then we have a couple of other things. Obviously, it's me and who I am and what my brain does with the information, but it's also luminance. And we all know that light, we're artists, we know that light affects color and changes color. I have a higher luminance factor than those with regular vision. And when I say that, those with regular vision have what they say is a 7 on the scale. That's a factor, right? I have a 14, and it is exponential, just like earthquake scales, a 5 and a 6 and a 7. It's not just one, it's massive. So I also see a lot more color because of it, and particularly in shadows and in the dark and in the night, which is why I paint a lot of nocturnes, and I paint a lot of paintings from outer space, because I can see more color in NASA images.
Those are phenomenal. It's like you see straight into the universe.
It's kind of like, that's how it's been. Excuse me. That's how it's definitely described. A couple right now. In fact, I just sold a blood moon image this week, as well as a nebula image. And the nebula image was really interesting. It's a cluster of nebula, and I sent it to a friend of mine who's an astronomer in Germany, and immediately he sent back the name of the nebula. He could tell which nebula it was from my
Oh my God.
Which was so cool. But anyway, so here I am, this artist with tetrachromacy, with the cone in the sweet spot, with a high luminance factor, with 100,000 hours of color examination and painting and so forth. And so when the scientists tested me, and when they found out, and I'll explain how that happened, they said, "Well, Concetta, you're not just a unicorn; you're a rainbow unicorn. You." Perfect.
I love that.
Yeah, you're the perfect storm for this anomaly, for this physiological mutation. So a lot of people say, well, tetrachromacy, yes, other people have it, but I just happen to embody, with all the things that could have happened to me in my life, all the ways that I might have come together with this, were in the perfect way to grow it to its highest potential. And they have done extensive studies, and I've done extensive testing over the past decade, almost and a half, where it's all been documented. I'm talking very sophisticated tests, which would take hours and hours, where I'm looking through little light tubes and trying to tell which way a tiny little disc is spinning by pressing a button in a dark room, or color swatches that I'm meant to mix, and then my mixes are put into a computer to see how accurate they are and to see the colors that I'm using. Like, very sophisticated tests that have taken, days, months, hours.
Wow.
They test by your saliva. So it's basically, it's in your genes, and they can see it, the extra rod. You can't just walk up to a chemist and get a test. I was quite lucky as to how that happened, because I get asked all the time, well, how can I get tested? I really am not sure. I know that I was tested by Dr. Kimberly Jameson, UC Irvine, and originally by Dr. Jay Knights, and that was up at Washington University. They flew me up there, tested me, and he almost fell off his chair when I did the very first test that I did, because he said he'd never seen anybody be able to do what I could do, or see what I could see. So, and I can tell you how that all came about if you want to know.
Yes, yeah, I'm dying to know. How did you even decide to test for anything like this?
I didn't decide to. It was, how fate plays a role in our lives, okay? And I have had, I guess, I've been very fortunate and unfortunate of a divine path. Like I said, I started painting when I was very young. When I was about 8, my mother said to me, and I remember it clearly because she passed away a few years later. She said, "You'll be a famous artist and art teacher, Concetta." So she must have seen something, right? I've since found out, because of all the different testing of my family and children, that my mother was a tetrachromat. I also know my sister is a tetrachromat, but we don't know at what level my mother was. Obviously, she didn't have the training and so forth. My sister doesn't have it at the same level as me. Okay, so there's a couple of things. So it just tells you it doesn't always express in a certain way. So she said that about me. I went on. I was a young uni student. I just graduated, came to America, leaving Sydney. I was on my own. I started around 16 and blazing my own trail. Came to LA first and then down to San Diego. My partner at the time was from San Diego, Mira Mesa, actually. And
that's where I live.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
And I fell in love with the place. Coming now then in 1995, I started my first retail fine art instruction business. I was a forerunner, trailblazer for retail fine art instruction, which now we have so much of it, in schools and universities and museums, and we have lots of shops and wine and paint and places you can go. I was the first to do that. In San Diego, there was none 30 years ago, or very few, or very little. So anyway, I started doing that. And about 10 years or so after I started, I had a client come to me. He was kind of a techie guy. He worked for Cisco Systems, and he came to me and he said, "I think you're one of these." I said, "One of what?" And he showed me an article that was from the Smithsonian, because he liked to read those kinds of things. And it was all about women with fourth receptors. And again, this was a long time ago now, about 15 years ago. So it was very much in its infancy. They know a lot more about it now. He said, "I think you're one of these." And I laughed and I said, "Oh, sure, me and everyone else." Because, of course, one would love to think you could be an artist that would see more color, right? And I just kind of blew it off, but he was a bit of a joker and I thought it was funny. Anyway, I ignored it. A few years later, my daughter, and it's funny how, like I said, your life, if anyone's ever seen Benjamin Button or movies like that, how things come into play to change your life, right? So my daughter came home. I have a daughter, and she was about 8 at the time. She came home and she said, "Mommy, I can't see when the teacher writes with orange on the whiteboard at school. Can't see what she's writing." And I said, "Really? Where are you sitting?" And all the same questions a mother would ask. And she said, I called the teacher, and she said, "No, she's in the front row and she's wearing her glasses." She wore glasses. And I said, "Okay, well," so because I'd had teacher training, my degree is in education from Sydney Uni. And I took her to an optometrist. Actually, J.C. Penney optometrist in Fashion Valley. And I walked in with her and I said, "Could you please give my daughter a color vision test? She can't see orange." And he said, "Well, I'm not going to do that. She's a girl. Girls aren't colorblind." And I don't know if the audience knows, but 1 in 4 men are colorblind. 1 in 4 men only have 2 rods, and particularly men that have very pale blue eyes. Lighter eyes is what I've found, or green or blue. And a lot of men really don't even know it. It's interesting. I've come across a lot that I've asked them, and then we found out that they were. Anyway, and as it turns out, the man who gave me the article, he's colorblind. He was colorblind. So I guess I kind of thought that he was just exaggerating, right? Anyway, she failed the test. She is color deficient. And it comes from the mutation that I have, as well as the combination with her father's mutation, because he was red-green colorblind. Yeah, so we're a very colorful family. Yeah, I know,
Wow.
really. Right. And then I found out when they did testing on my dad, who's still alive, that he's blue-black colorblind. So the mutation between my mother, who had tetrachromat, and my dad, who was blue-black colorblind, obviously had an effect on this gene that I got, or what happened with me. Anyway, moving forward, I didn't think it had anything to do with me. I actually just thought, oh, something to do with her dad, right? Because I knew he was colorblind. So I ignored it and I just said, "Hey, everybody sees color differently, sweetie." And, we just moved on. Then about 2 more years after that, and now we're talking 2012, I had a lady knock on my door to take painting lessons, and she came into my gallery and she looked around. I was in Mission Hills at that point. I was on Fort Stockton Drive in Mission Hills Gallery, Salon of Art, for about 20 years. And she came in and she said, oh, there's an alchemy in your work. Probably how you felt, Galina, when you came into my gallery, you see the paintings.
I did. Yeah.
There's an alchemy in your work. There's something to do with the color. I can't put my finger on it. But she ended up buying paintings. She actually now owns around 100 paintings of mine. Okay.
Wow.
She's a research scientist. She's a neurologist. And so when she came in and I sort of laughed and I said, oh, and she said, yeah, it's the color, da, da, da. And I said, oh, maybe it's my fourth receptor. And it was so funny because for some reason, I didn't know what to say, but I thought about this article, right?
You just made a joke.
Blurted it out. I made a joke. She said, what are you talking about? Because she's a scientist. And I said, oh, nothing. Just someone showed me an article once. It was about, more color, women seeing more color, blah, blah, blah. She didn't say anything. She left. She ended up being a student of mine for a decade. And like I said, buying a lot of my art. When she sent me, it was November 2012, and it was the day that changes your life, right? And she sent me some bibliography. She went and did research on this. She sent bibliography, and I'm at home, I'm making pancakes. The kids are getting ready for school. You know how it is. Galina, you got kids. And I actually had the flu that day. I remember really well. And I'm sipping my tea, and I opened the first bibliography, and the first paragraph of the first one that she sent me said, women who have the potential for tetrachromacy also have the potential to create a colorblind female offspring. And I went, okay.
Oh my God. Like all the dots are connected all of a sudden.
All the dots connected and started swirling. And I went, oh my goodness, well, maybe I am, right? So then I did, and it's time and place too, right? I'm a child of the 60s, and it's like, if it had been 30 years ago and I was 20, we'd never know because people wouldn't have had emails. They wouldn't have had website, da, da, da. That didn't all come around till like the late 80s. And I Googled these doctors who had written these articles that she wrote, and I found their websites at the universities where they worked. And one of them was in Johns Hopkins, one was in Cambridge, and one was up in University of Washington. Okay. And I sent an email to all three. They were CC'd. And I said, I've read your articles, da, da, da. And the subject line was possible fourth receptor artist with colorblind daughter. Mm-hmm. Within 20 minutes, Dr. Jay Knights, who actually is becoming famous for curing color blindness in spider monkeys, believe it or not, he's on.
I thought I didn't know it's possible.
Yeah, apparently he's doing it genetically.
Wow.
You can Google him. His name is Knights, Neitz. Jane. Anyway, he's on my cell phone in like 20 minutes. He's like, and this is a fact. He goes, hi, Concetta, this is Dr. Jay Knights, and you just emailed me, and I'm up here in Washington, and I have a film crew from Fuji Television, Japan, who have been looking for a tetrachromat to put into their science mystery production and they're about to leave because we haven't been able to find one. Would you be willing to spit into a vial that I would send down through UPS overnight and send it back to me so we can test you? I went,
what?
I know, right? And I went, sure, no problem.
All of a sudden, like, things are just unraveling so fast.
All of a sudden. Well, it was a process. But anyway, so I did. I spat in the vial. I sent it back by UPS. The next day, he's organizing an airplane ticket for me to go up to Washington University. It's where I did tests that they wanted to confirm what they had found, that they had found the fourth receptor in my genes. They had started to analyze where it was and how it was, and they wanted to see how functioning it was. He literally fell off the chair because he couldn't believe it. The first test that they gave me these little tiny, like 1 inch round, I guess, little boxes, if you like, round, and each one of them had like chalk-like substance in them. And they were in a color range going from green to red. But to any normal vision, they all pretty much look the same. There's like 26 of them, right? And to you, you probably could pick out maybe 3 different colors, right? The nuances, the changes between the colors are so small, so slight, right? On the other side of them, they have a number. They actually have been computerized and programmed, and they know exactly what order they're in terms of color. Okay, from green to pink, right? So I got given these 26 or 24 things, looking at all the color, and I was told to put them in order, right? To put them in gradation. And I did it, and they had to go in like a little long box, right? So I did it in like a minute. He just was watching me. And then he flips it over, and they were in complete perfect order.
Oh my God.
And he, like I said, he fell off his chair. He's like, okay. Then he did a few other things. He had me look through a scope, and I was meant to turn these dials trying to get one light to cover another light. And I couldn't, because all these, like what I would describe as solar flares kept coming out. And he said he'd never had anybody look through the scope and see what I was able to see. All right. So anyway, I did the video, or the production. They flew down to San Diego as well. And this was the part where, and I'll leave the tetrachromacy right there after this next thing. So when they were filming, they had me bring in 12 of my students, and they had me leave the room, and they had me come back in, and they said, okay, raise your paintbrush or raise your hand if your teacher sees colors and points out colors that you do not see. And they all raised their hand. So for 15 years, I'd been teaching, and nobody had said to me, we don't see that color, Concetta, because they just figured I'm the teacher, and they were students, and they just thought, oh, well, she's, they didn't think anything of it. It was like a hung jury. I was just like, oh my gosh. And it was the cold water in the face that I truly was seeing the world differently. And like I said, I was 52 at that point, and I was just like, people are not seeing what I see. They don't see the colors that I see in everything, and everybody just thought I was just a hypercolored painter, but they've actually analyzed my paintings. When I've done plein air, they've analyzed the actual image of what I'm looking at and compared it to what I'm painting, and everything correlates. Like where I put lavender, there's lavender, and where I put this, there's this. So it's not just an affectation. It's not just me being a hyper colorful artist. I'm actually representing exactly what I see. So as the Huffington Post put it, it's great that she's a tetrachromat, but it's better for us that she paints. Because when I paint something, and if I paint a pink rose, and I love this example because people can understand it. And if they come in and they look at the painting of the pink rose, and they can see I put a little turquoise and a little lavender and a little orange, and it was there. It was in the rose, something that they couldn't see. So my paintings are quite sophisticated when it comes to color. Right up front, they look very bright, but when you study them, the nuances, they're very sophisticated in terms of the color that I see and put into the paintings. Yeah. And then it's like worldwide press, many documentaries, every country in the world. I've been featured in textbooks for university students. They've put my paintings in there. One lady, Jackie Higgins, just included me and likened me to a mantis shrimp in the first chapter of her book called Because a mantis shrimp has the same color vision that I do. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and birds and butterflies and reindeer have it. Reindeer use it because they're in the snow and they have to forage for little bits of green grass underneath the snow so they can see where the grass is growing because of their tetrachromacy.
Wow.
Yeah,
This is fascinating. This is fascinating. You know what? I have so many questions which I don't even expect you would answer, because it is, how does it I'm trying to formulate. So you see all those colors, you translate all those colors into your paintings, but if the people with regular vision don't see those colors? What difference does
So
it make to
they
us?
don't see the colors in the objects or in the sky or in the images or in NASA's images. They don't see the same colors that I see, but they see them on my paintings.
Wow.
So because I'm scientifically endorsed to say, yes, she sees this, they're windows into what I see. So the paintings become windows into the world or the natural world that you can't see.
So why is that? How does this work? How does people see all those colors in your paintings that they can't
Because
see?
I'm still using color. I'm still using paint, right? I'm still mixing color. But what it is that they're not seeing those same colors in the subjects that I'm painting. But when I paint the subject, I put the colors that I see. So it's like they're seeing
So
the
they're seeing
colors
particles of paint, not necessarily seeing the light reflecting off of an object.
they're not really seeing the pink rose the way I saw it, but they're seeing a replication, or they're seeing my creation of what I could see so that they get to see it too.
That's
Does that
amazing.
make sense? So
It
like
does, yeah.
I'm looking right now at a painting I have hanging in the gallery, because I'm at the gallery right now, and it's of a sunset in Laguna Beach, right? And it has shadows and it has palm trees and it has a sunset. And in the sunset, I know I'm pretty confident that if someone walked in, they would see lilacs and greens and oranges and pinks, and probably, like, if they really studied it, they could pull out hundreds of colors in the sunset. And then in the shadows, there's turquoise and aqua and magenta and orange and all these things that if they were looking at that, they wouldn't have seen those colors in the shadows. Is that you're making sense?
Yeah, it does.
And the other thing is how it's affected my process. And, if we don't have time today, I'd be happy to come back on.
Oh,
and
I
we
would
can
love
talk
to have you back.
about
I don't even know
this.
if we'll be able to cover everything I want to ask you today. So
Well,
I'll be happy to have you back.
Yeah, it's a few other places have said the same thing, but so my brain has become like a computer for color. All right. And from my work and from my teacher training and from my teaching over these decades, I've created a color system, if you like, a palette, a methodology that works for me, because I have to find these subtle nuances of color. So I do it, it's like a value palette, similar to some artists make it, but mine is very specific in as much as I tailor it, or it's customized to the image or the item that I see. And then from those, what I like to call mother colors or tube colors, I'm able to, from the analysis of what I'm looking at, I'm able to pull the colors that I see from this palette. Now, having said that, everybody knows, or I don't know about everybody, but people who are painters understand color recipes, if you like. Color recipe is how much, of each color you're picking up on your brush when you're mixing to create a color that you're trying to find. I have millions of color recipes, as do other people have a lot. But for me, I'm able to create the exact colors so quickly.
And you keep them all in your mind?
In my head.
Wow.
From what I can see. So when I look at the palette and I look at what I'm looking at, I'm able to immediately, without.
Oh, this is so many percent magenta. This is so many percent this.
I
Oh my God.
know exactly how much to pick up and make that color, that nuance.
Wow.
I paint all my paintings in one sitting, which other artists do that alla prima, right? But there's no correction in my paintings. There's no going back. I paint them like it's paint by numbers, step by step, like just boom, 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 boom. And I paint very fast because I can mix the colors so fast, because my brain is like a computer for color, or my eyes are a computer for color.
Fascinating.
So I paint live a lot of times. There's videos on YouTube. People can watch me painting live. I can do very large canvases very quickly. I remember one time I painted plein air with, I think it was Laguna plein air painters, and everybody showed up with, a fairly standard size canvas, 9 by 12, 10 by 14. And I showed up with like a 36 by 24 size canvas to paint in the same time frame because I paint so quickly. Yeah.
That is fascinating. I have a question. So you mentioned at the beginning that people with regular vision, especially women, because women tend to see more colors, can see up to a million colors with training.
Yes. So let's just say,
And then you can help them with your teaching. You can help them get to
more
that.
analysis and more to grow their color vision. Okay.
So how do you do that?
So by pointing out color. All right. So I've taught over 25,000 people how to oil paint in 30 years. I added it up once, how many classes I'd done every year, how many students I'd done in each class, da 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 da. And it's like around that number. And I can tell you that just about every student I've ever had, within a month or two, they come in and I wait for the conversation. It's funny because now I get a giggle out of it. I wait for them to come in and say, oh, I was up in Julian this weekend and we were coming down the mountain and I'd never really seen the colors in the sky that I saw this weekend, or wherever they had been, right? Something that is new to them, like that they're noticing color more from having been in my classes and from having learned color mixing from me and from learning to paint and so forth. I think artists inherently do this, right? So I'm sure artists, we do grow it, interior designers, people who work in anything to do with color. But then some people don't work in color and they don't immerse themselves in color. And maybe, I'm just as an example, maybe those people only see 300,000 colors that they can actually identify. Then you'll meet the person who says, oh, yeah, that's a green bush, or a green tree. And, maybe you and I, you as an artist and myself, will look at it and go, oh, no, 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 there's hundreds of greens. And then there's orange greens and purple greens and emeralds and lime greens and brown greens. But they just see green. Do you know what I mean? Because that's how it resolves for them. But then maybe with more training, or maybe they start painting the bush and they're like, whoa, look at that orange part in the leaf. Look at that bit of red rimming around the edge of the stem of that leaf. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you grow it, you become more aware. And this is what has happened with me, with my tetrachromacy as a little girl, painting nature. I would copy the works of the impressionists, and just painting and looking. And growing this muscle, if you like, this eye phenomenon, this human gift. It's called supervision. Not supervision like minding someone, but supervision. Yeah, it's ex-woman stuff. I think it's
That's fascinating.
Yeah, I think it's an evolutionary thing. I think we're all growing more, and some of the scientists seem to tell me that they think it's something that maybe will be showing up more. It's certainly something. It's funny, the scientist, the lady that studies me, she said, oh, it would be so great. She said, if we had the funds to create a tetrachromatic school where young students, young girls or babies get tested to see if they have the extra cone, and to grow that, with training once they were identified. And I'm sure eventually, remember, this is pretty new science. And for a long time, it was dispelled that humans could have what animals, fish, and insects have, right? And then it was, proven over and over and over again. And now it's become much more mainstream. It's becoming, well, even though you haven't heard of it in the scientific world, and in anyone who knows about science or that follows like popular science or IFL science or some of these, techie gurus, doctors know about it. I recently had my eyes checked. I don't wear glasses at all for long or short distance. So I actually also have, that would have been probably part of this perfect storm too, that I had 20/20 vision. You see, imagine if I had been born with not perfect vision, that would have played into it, right? So again, this perfect storm for tetrachromacy. But I went and had an eye test like most people do every couple of years. And he sort of said, he asked me, he goes, how old are you again? And I told him, and he's like, I've never had anybody come in your age that doesn't need some kind of glasses, right? And then I told him, right? He's like, oh, I learned about this in med school, and I've never met anybody who has it. Do you mind if I run some extra tests on you? He was so excited. And I'm like, sure, no problem. That was fine. So
yeah, I had this question in my head, and I wasn't sure, if it's appropriate to ask about wearing glasses, because especially for women after 40 and women who had children,
right,
that is so common
right,
for their vision to for their vision
deteriorate.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's an aging thing. It's an aging process. We get nearsighted or farsighted, and yeah, I still don't need it. In fact, there was one time I was in a restaurant with a bunch of girlfriends, and the age range was, I was sort of towards the older end, and they were as young as in their mid-30s. It was a luncheon for some friends, and it was a dark room. And so the waiter brought around this can that he had glasses in, because it was a candlelit room, so it was dark. So he's used to giving glasses to people to put on to read the menu, right? And so all the ladies, including the ones in their 30s and the obviously 70 and older ones, they all took the glasses and they're reading the menu. And I didn't need them, right? And so I'm reading them because I see more in the dark, remember?
Yeah.
And I have supervision and blah, blah, blah. So it's like easy for me, right? And one of the girls goes, why aren't you wearing glasses? And I said, oh, I don't need them. And one of the other girls goes, oh, she probably just already knows the menu.
Of course, she's cheating.
Like, okay. Yeah, she's cheating. She's been here too many times. She knows the menu. And I was just like, yeah. So it's a downside too, Galena. It has a downside as far as, I'm very OCD with cleaning. Like even one little speck of dust or one little piece of lint, I'm like, it's like a beacon.
Yeah, you're taking it off the
me.
tip of my tongue. I was going to ask you this question, that you described it as a gift in so many capacities, but is there the other side of it? Does it affect your life in any way that is bothersome?
Before I go into the downside, I will say that I had a gal doing her thesis at Stanford, and she was doing her thesis on the relationship between joy and color. And it is true that I'm quite happy because everything is so beautiful. Like I said, people have described my work as avatarish or holographic or, otherworldly, like you had mentioned. But the downside is color and selecting color, especially for like what I wear. I find I wear a lot of black or neutrals because I don't want to have to match color. I can see when things aren't matching, like, the lady who's got the red bag with the red shoes and the red dress.
And they're not the same red.
Usually not matching, or the lipstick color or whatever. And then, when I go into the supermarket, I guess this is an upside. Well, I don't like the supermarket because of the light, right? It's too garish for me. So I eat the same things every week and I buy exactly the same food. So I know exactly where to go when I go in the supermarket, and it's like a strike attack. I'm in and then I'm out. So what else can I tell you? So there's that. I can see when people aren't well. I can tell in their skin color, and sometimes that's a bit creepy. I guess I would say. What else could I tell you about it? And so just being particularly OCD with color in every aspect, okay? Getting distracted with color. Like sometimes I bought things just because I love the color. And then I'm like, got it home, like, why did I buy that? Oh, I bought it because it was this amazing, turquoise blue or whatever. And I loved the color. So, but yeah, and so then, that's part of it. Okay. And, but it's a gift nonetheless. I mean, for the most part, it's a plus. Yeah. And it's definitely a plus for my art. So, I'm happy. I feel fortunate. In India, they said I was the luckiest girl in the world, and I do feel that sometimes, Galina. I do feel that. I feel fortunate.
Yeah, I as an artist myself, I was like, oh my God, you are the luckiest girl in the world.
I
Being an
feel like,
artist with this kind of gift, and not only having the gift, knowing about it, being conscious about it, growing it and sharing it with others, whether
yeah,
with
all the pieces.
teaching them or just expressing what you see in your paintings is amazing.
It is a really fortunate thing, and it does make my paintings highly collectible because because I am this person, because there is all this documentation, because I am featured throughout the world, and I am in textbooks and, scientifically researched and papers presented in Austria or all over the world about me. I'm subject CA, and that will never go away. And one day, I leave this legacy of what I consider to be tetrachromatic artwork. And I'd take it as far as, in every ism, when we think of impressionism or romanticism, there's always been some kind of cultural or sociological influence or aspect. Well, mine is a merging of new science and art. And I like to think of it as tetrachromatism, and one day I think they'll be grouped. And when they can easily test other artists and find other people, there will be a movement, if you like. It will be a new age of art and painting, is how I see it. I also would like to think that people will look at my art and see the beauty of our world, and that because of my art, they will appreciate that we live in paradise in this very, very special place. And so, art is conservation and representation. And I like to think that I'm doing my part to show the world the way that it really, truly is. Yeah.
Yeah. That is something to think about, right? That we take everything for granted without really
Yeah.
knowing how beautiful it is.
How beautiful it is, and how we should be inspired to save everything that we have here because it is so
Yeah.
gorgeous. And, so I think that there will be more to come with my art and my gift and myself, but it will be probably long after I'm gone. So we'll see how it all unfolds in the next few decades. Hopefully, I'm fortunate enough to be here a couple more decades and paint more and leave a larger body of work for people to study.
And I want to say again, how lucky are we in San Diego to have you here?
Thank you, and I really appreciate you. And please welcome any of the listeners to come by and see the art and meet me. And if they'd like to learn painting and more color,
well, speaking of that, and to be mindful of the time, because I know that you have to go, we have just a couple minutes, 5 minutes left. So please spell out for our listeners how to find you, whether they're local or they want to see you online.
I mean, yeah, I'm at ConcettaAntico.com online, and they can easily Google me and find that. It's easy, Concetta Antico, or the woman with Tetrachromacy. It'll all pop up. I'm at the corner of Fay and Klein in La Jolla Village, 7655 Fay Avenue, right opposite, right next to the lot and opposite Sugar and Scribe and Conrad Prebys and the Cottage. I'm right there in that little hub. Next Saturday night, the 17th of May, there's a free exhibition of my work called A Modern Muse. I'm doing a few paintings, a throwback to my era of the 70s and 80s. I painted a painting last night. It was 4 by 6 feet. I did it in 6 hours, and it's called Feeling Groovy.
Wow. Well, I will make sure to be there. Unfortunately, this episode is going to be on air later after, but
okay.
I want to urge everybody to sign up for the newsletter with San Diego Art Directory.com, where Concetta is regularly posting whatever is happening with her studio, with her teaching, her classes, her events, the new body of work, exhibitions. So please sign up and stay tuned.
Oh, bless your heart. Thank you so much to everyone for listening. Let's keep being creative and making the world a better place through art and personal creativity and joy.
And I look forward to come back to your studio, not for the technical support issue, but actually to study your work.
I love your directory. It's such a service to all of us. And thank you for your time and efforts to make the world better through art.
Thank you so much. I do think that gems like you should be known to everybody. So
thank you. Thanks, Galina.
Right. Thank you for your time, Concetta, and I will see you again in the art scene.
Bye for now.